Okay, folks, here we go. Unit 5, Lecture 9, Conflict, Aggression, Sexual Assault, and Altruism. Needless to say, I say needless to say, but maybe it is needful to say, I hate this lecture. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It hits some really sort of rough topics that we need to go over here about aggression, about frustration. And again, keep in mind that, as always, when we're talking about psychology, we say these things and it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. I'm not saying that every guy is a frustrated guy who takes it out on someone else and they're more likely. And I'm not saying every woman is a victim and blah, 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 blah. But with that being said, well, let's talk about conflict. And of course, men are more likely for their aggression to be physical, women a little bit less likely to be as aggressive. And when they are aggressive, it tends to be a little bit more passive in the way that it is, in fact, administrated, if you would. All right, so what is aggression? Aggression is any physical or verbal behavior whose intent is to hurt or destroy. This is either reactive or it's proactive. This isn't the person who's trying to get you to sign up for a magazine subscription. That's not aggressive behavior. It is not the dentist that causes you some pain. That's done to help you. This is the person that the intention is to hurt you. The intention is to make your life worse. And again, this could be in reaction to something you did, or it could be proactive because of a perceived threat of you. Spreading the rumor, verbal attacks, assaults, all these things. If you take a look over here, acts of aggression per hour that tended to happen with these subjects that were looked at. Boys were more likely to be physical than girls. Girls were more likely to be verbal than boys, and girls were also more likely to be indirect than boys. So again, both boys and girls are aggressive. Now, when we talk about passive aggressive is an act of aggression that's not necessarily directed at the source, but it's done in a kind of a covert way. It's the slamming of the door. You know, I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to say something about you, but when I leave the room, I'm going to slam the door. It's sarcasm, where someone will go, well, I was just joking. No, you're not. The intention was to hurt. When you're having a conversation with someone and, do you have anything else? Hey, no. Well, what do you think? Nothing. Those single word responses that are meant to sort of irritate. Now, again, in the United States, aggression is very dangerous, not because we have very stress-oriented lives and there's only so many hours during the day, but in the United States as well, you have higher access to guns than other nations do. Now, let me preface this by saying I'm not anti-Second Amendment. I'm not against people's rights to have guns. I don't own one, okay? But that doesn't mean that people don't have the right to. But the trick is when you own a gun, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. And the number one reason that people say that they own guns is to make their homes, in fact, safer. When study after study after study shows, it makes your home a little bit more dangerous because you're bringing into your home a device that can, in fact, cause harm. And if you don't treat that device correctly, bad things can happen. Now, witnessing gun violence personally doubles the chances of a person committing an act of gun violence in the next 2 years. Now, again, it could be because they're in a situation where they witness it, and it could also be because that could lead to those who keep a gun in their home 3 times more likely to be murdered in that home. For every incident of self-defense, and there are incidents of self-defense where somebody breaks into a home and a person has a gun and they're able to defend themselves. That does happen, but for every one time that happens, there's 4 accidental shootings, unintentional, just whoops, kids playing with it, discover dad's gun, and there's 7 criminal assaults or homicides where, you get into an argument, one thing leads to another, and now you're not thinking clearly, you have a couple of guys arguing over an Xbox, it escalates, whatever. And with that factor there, it can escalate to that. 11 attempted or completed suicides. Again, it's one thing to be lying in bed thinking life's not going to get any better and what do I do and why go on. But then when suddenly you've got that weapon there and you're already not thinking clearly, it can be devastating. So again, responsible gun ownership is great. Irresponsible gun ownership is deadly. It's absolutely deadly. Okay. Now, other things with aggression, there's genetic influences, people who have aggression in their families, high testosterone levels, whatnot, that can pass on. Identical twins are much more likely to have the same temperament as opposed to fraternal twins or other siblings, because again, testosterone, adrenaline, these are the big two. And then you throw alcohol and other substances into the blood, it's going to increase it because the alcohol decreases our frontal lobe and makes us more impulsive, as does other substances. Caffeine can make us a little bit more active. So high levels of testosterone correlate with irritability, impulsiveness, low tolerance for frustration. When you think of any sort of party that you've been to, a typical high school party, and I'm not encouraging this behavior, I'm just saying as someone who was in high school, when a fight breaks out, the odds that alcohol was involved pretty high because it does shut down the frontal lobe. Testosterone given to subjects makes them more aggressive to lower ranking ones, but only if they were already aggressive. And that's the other trick. You've got to kind of have that aggression in you. Testosterone, alcohol, they sort of, they're spices. If you have more testosterone added to your body and you're not a jerk, it's not going to make you a jerk. But if you have testosterone added to your body and you are a naturally aggressive person, it's going to make you more aggressive. A sadist gains great pleasure from inflicting pain, but then the afterglow quickly goes away and they need to do it again and again and again. The sadistic person, someone who wants to cause pain to others, the pleasure they get from each time they do it is a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less, which is why they're somewhat addicted to it. It also correlates with delinquency, hard drug use, aggressive bullying amongst teens, 30% of violent crimes, 75% of cases of spousal abuse all involved alcohol. All right, and some more stuff there on anger management in teens if you want to go through and take a read through that. Okay, now one of the main reasons that we get aggressive is because we're frustrated. Things aren't going the way we want to. I'm in traffic. I want to be up there. I don't want to be here. I'm late from getting wherever I want to be. I wanted a good grade. I got a bad grade. She's going out with him. She's not going out with me. I'm frustrated. Or I asked her out and she said no. Frustration is one of the main reasons why we get aggressive, especially in the presence of an aggressive cue like a gun. People who are miserable, frustration is going to make you more miserable, and you want to make other people more miserable. If I'm feeling misery, I want others to feel it as well. Fear is linked to aggression and those already prone to it. Among subordinate, the fear is more likely to lead to anxiety, jealousy, and envy. Someone else has something that I don't. Why them, not me? Which is put more on display by social media. Studies will show that in areas of poverty that are surrounded by poverty, crime is less. But areas of amongst wealthy, crime is less. But when you have poverty next to wealthy and poverty can see wealthy and why not me, that's when crime is higher. That's when it's higher. It's the guy who lives in the impoverished area that suddenly has a new car, taking a big risk because, well, why don't I have that car? Why don't I have those wheels or whatever else the case may be with that? And again, social media just rubs our face in it. Look at what they got. Why them, not me? And social media makes us frustrated. Jealousy and envy, and we do it. We shove it in other people's faces. You get your little club sandwich. You're so happy. No, I got to take a picture. Look what I got. Selfie sandwich. I got it. Oh, lucky. I am lucky. We like making people envious. We like making people jealous because it makes us feel better about what we have. We're really sick about that. The number one cause of human to human violence is male versus male competition for women. Jealousy and envy, the number one cause of why these two dudes get in a fight. Usually a girl. It's usually a girl. Okay. Number two cause of human to human violence, male to female, for coercive sex or in response to aggression. She said, I can't be with her, then no one's going to be with her. I'm going to, and again, it doesn't just have to be physical. It can also be, I'm going to spread the rumor about her. If she won't go out with me, let me say these bad things about her. And by the way, it can go both ways with both sexes on this. 1/3 of all homicides were found directly related to infidelity. Somebody cheated on you. You're cheated on. I'm frustrated why they cheat on me. And you're not thinking, and the frontal lobe shuts down, and maybe it's some drinking, and there's aggression. There's aggression that's going on there. Schadenfreude, the idea that when we're miserable, we want to see other people miserable. When people are measured to have high levels of envy of a hypothetical person, academics, popularity, wealth, whatever, they showed a very high level of satisfaction when that person failed. It's the reason we love reality television so much. It's the reason I can't stop watching The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. Actually, this year I have stopped watching it because they're just boring people. They've gotten really bad. But again, if we envy somebody for certain things and we see their failure, we get a joy because, look what's happening to me. Those that showed very little envy, if you're not envious of others, you don't get joy in their failure because, again, it's a competition. They're up here, I'm down here. I can't make myself better. So when they fail, I feel better. The Schadenfreude for the joy in other people's misery. And again, when you have an aggressive cue like a gun there, male college students were given a gun or they were given a child's toy. So you were given either a gun or like a little basketball here to play with. Okay, so they're put in the room for 15 minutes with the little toy, whatever. All right. And so one group's got a gun, nice cold steel. The other one's got a nice little bouncy ball. Okay. Now, afterwards, they measured their testosterone level and see that if it did increase by any specific amount. And those who played with a gun went up quite a bit. Those who played with a little bouncy toy, whatever, not so much. Then they took it a step further and they said, hey, listen, this guy, you don't know him. He left his drink here. Look at that, left his drink. You want to pour some hot sauce in it. You don't know him. Those who had played with the gun and as a result increased their testosterone level, put higher levels of hot sauce in the drink. Now, again, some people were just naturally jerks. And even though they played with the bouncy ball, you still got that little jerk in you. Still put some hot sauce in, but not nearly as much as those who had just had the gun. Guns make us feel more aggressive. There's that feeling, and again, I've never owned a gun. I've never shot a gun. I've held the gun before, and I'll tell you what, it feels pretty good. You feel like, I think I want to take over some stuff. So yeah, there is that possible cue. And now again, it doesn't affect all people the same way. There can be very responsible gun owners and you got it all under control and you keep it under lock and key and your kids never get close to it. Fantastic. But when you are someone who is susceptible to mental illness, when you're someone who's susceptible to frustration, it's sometimes really dangerous to have it in your house. The amygdala is linked to fear and anxiety is similar to its link to aggression. Averse stimuli, pain, insults, food, odors, heat leads to the possible increases of hostility. The higher the temperature, the more hit batters in a baseball game, where pitchers just go, screw you, and hit you with your polyester on and whatever on. The greater the disparity in income, as I said before, the more likely the crime rate. An absent parent can also increase the crime rate because there's not much guidance for the child. 70% of imprisoned juveniles grow up in a one-parent household. And that's no slam on that parent, but usually that parent, that single parent's got to work a couple of jobs and whatever else, and may not be able to give them the what they need there. Stress increases sensitivity to triggers of aggression. Sadly, the more that we display stress, the more that we relieve it. When we go to the gym and we hit that punching bag, we feel better because it gets out our stress. And it's okay to hit the punching bag. But when you hit your little brother, it's kind of the same thing. Economic downturns, increased levels of child or spousal abuse. And this is just shown to be true. Dad, mom can't control things at work. I come home, I'm going to control these children. A really, really sad study this drives me crazy. Study of male fans of football show that in communities where the local team lost the game that they were expected to win, okay, you're a local team, you're a fan of that you're in Tampa Bay and you're a fan of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, okay, and they were supposed to win a game and they lost. Spousal child abuse case reports go up by 10% in that community in the days following that. And if it's a playoff game, it's 13%. If it's a game to a rival where suddenly the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing I don't know who's in the division, New Orleans Saints, and they were expected to beat a rival and their rival beat them, spousal child abuse cases go up by 20% if your team's expected to win. All right. Now, do I experience this? No. Why? Because my team is always expected to lose. All right. So since I have no expectation of my team doing well, when they lose, I'm not really that frustrated because I'm kind of expecting them to lose. Now, again, I'm not an aggressive person as well, so that's not really going to have an impact on me. And that's why sometimes it's great to root for terrible teams. You know, my wife, one of the reasons my wife loves me so much is because I'm a Bengals fan, and because, you know, that shows loyalty, that shows patience, it shows stupidity on my part, but she kind of likes it. Now, overall, crime numbers are going down. It's important to know that overall crime numbers are way down in the last 20 years. Juvenile crime is down if you want to compare it to the 80s and the 90s. And if you look at overall crime numbers, violent crime, simple assault, aggressive assault, these numbers have gone down tremendously. Okay, with the men, and one of the reasons they have is because more and more people have this, and this takes away a lot of boredom, which alleviates some frustration and in turn lowers aggression. So again, as much as I will say the bad things about your smartphone, if you're not using it correctly, this is nice because it does keep you entertained. You know, you're sitting around and always on your phone. You know, you're not a bunch of kids sitting around in junior high going, I'm bored. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. Let's go steal a canoe. You know, you're not doing that as maybe I did in the 80s. Okay, so again, many affordable distractions, video games, whatever, will alleviate some frustration and in turn will lower aggression. But much of technology is attainable the same despite income inequalities. You know, you've got wealthy people and you've got people that don't have as many means. They kind of have the same types of phones, or at least phones that generally do the same type of thing. Violent activity in humans peaks in late adolescence into early adulthood, because again, this is where your need for stimulation is at its highest and your frontal lobe activity is one of its lowest. A great predictor of high crime is, again, the extent of income inequality. Poverty of those living amongst poor people, lower crime. Poverty amongst the wealthy, higher crime. Okay, yet what's interesting about that is it's crime towards the poor. You know, if I'm a poor person and I live next to wealthy people, I'm not going to go rob the wealthy people because they have, you know, car alarms, they've got cameras on their houses and everything else. So what I'll do is I'll rob from others around me in order to put money together to get up to that. You'll also know cases of air rage are 4 times higher in planes with a first class section, you know, because when you have a first class section on an airplane, you know, first off, they let those guys on first, then you've got to walk by them as they give you a little bit of a snoo. You're all on the same plane, but the fact that they're at the front and I'm at the back, and it's reminding me that they can pay more and I pay less, you know, it's higher, you know, because it gives you this reminder of entitlement, and they have it and I don't. And speaking of frustration, with COVID and the masks and everything else, air rage incidents have been up because people are frustrated. Why do I have to wear a mask? Why isn't he wearing his mask? And we're all breathing the same circulated air. It goes up, you know. Urban living, every 3 degrees rise in temperature leads to a 4% increase in interpersonal violence, a 14% increase in group violence. So again, higher temperatures. Now, ironically, this doesn't occur in a collectivist culture like a Hong Kong, a Singapore, and a Tokyo. You know, in the same way, video games don't really impact them as much because they're more of a collectivist culture. But in individualistic culture, you got it, I don't, a little bit higher. And again, frustration and aggression in 2020, anti-face mask protesters, and you still got that going on now. People who were frustrated with the lockdown, Black Lives Matter, frustrated with racism. And then you had shooting over face masks. You had protesters that were showing up with guns, a very aggressive act, and looters taking advantage of certain times. So again, you see these people protesting and then going as far as shooting. Now I'm becoming frustrated with them. You see these people protesting and showing up with guns. Now we're frustrated with them. We see these people protesting and leading to looting. Now I'm becoming frustrated with them. So it just gets more and more and more and more and more intense on both sides. You already have a disagreement, then you see a group do a certain thing and it makes the disagreement and that polarization become even more. And especially when you see that a lot of folks are not knowledgeable in what they're using. And that becomes more frustrating because it's like, why don't you read? I should be able to make an informed decision and inform yourself first, so it can become frustrating. It can become very frustrating. And that makes us want to become aggressive, or we just laugh. We just laugh and go about our day. Television watching. Can television watching cause aggression? Sure. When television shows show unrealistic violence, but sometimes unrealistic violence we can take better. A horror movie we can take better because there's not too many situations of a guy showing up in Texas with a chainsaw and killing people. I would have heard about that on the news. So we can separate from that a little bit more. When I see Elmer Fudd shoot Daffy Duck and his bill spin around all over the place and the gun doesn't kill him, I can take it. When Tom and Jerry are going on it and Tom hits Jerry with a frying pan and now his mouth is the shape of a frying pan, I know that's not real. Okay. So the term violence is the key. Aggression is not boosted by simple excitement, arousal, and or frustration. There's got to be some violence tied to it. And this is where kids start to get a little bit confused when kids are watching things like wrestling and not sure that the wrestling is fake, or they're watching the Power Rangers, which again, we go, well, they're the Power Rangers. Yeah, but the Power Rangers never get hurt. You never see a Power Ranger in the hospital. The broken arm, a broken leg, whatever, it always works out. So kids watch this at 4, 5, 6 years of age, and they're just like, oh, morphin time or whatever, and they think they're going to be fine. But even other studies show that on television, violent acts greatly outnumber the acts of charity and affection. And when it's violent, 80% show no blood or violence to the violence, 60% show no pain to the victim. Few of the aggressors face consequences or punishment. And oftentimes the aggressor is glorified, he's celebrated. And so kids see this, adults not as much, but kids see this and they go, oh, so if I do that, people will like me. So the lower the age that you're exposed to this, more it's going to be more impactful, especially if it's seen as heroic. There is a proven statistically significant correlation between the number of aggressive shows watched and the aggressive behavior of viewers. Now, again, does correlation equal causation? No, because, if I'm an aggressive kid, I'm going to watch aggressive programming. But if I'm overwhelmed with it, I'm spending hours watching it and hours playing the video game, yeah, it can have an impact on me. Studies are beginning to show that there is, in fact, a possible causation, especially at the age that kids are exposed to this. A recent longitudinal study shown that they tracked the viewing habits of children, and what they discovered was that girls who watched low or medium levels of violence and boys who watched low to medium levels of violent programming, as they became adults, they were under 0 being the average. They were below the average of violent acts. But girls who watched high levels of violent TV viewing as a child were a little bit more likely, and guys were a lot more likely to be involved in aggressive activities as adulthoods. Okay, so again, this has an impact on both genders. It's higher on girls because of their natural level of being lower. So you see a bigger difference between girls, where the guys, it's just sort of a casual thing. Girls exposed to violence and demeaning music videos increase their tolerance for dating violence. That's also what sucks. Girls, even though girls may not act as violent because of watching aggressive programming, they're more tolerant of violence. They're more tolerant of emasculating, well, not emasculating, but of words said to them, of actions said to them, of of whatever, because they go, well, that's just how guys are. And it's not. Back to guys, there is a rise in testosterone levels and growing expectations of getting immediate gratification when you play a video game. But what happens when the gratification stops? And again, some of it is just, it's outrageous. And when we glorify it, this is a great example. This guy over here, John Wick. My boys wanted to watch John Wick. This is a few years out. Teddy was still living at home, so this had to be 7 years ago. They go, we want to watch John Wick. And I go, all right. I don't like watching violent movies. I don't like watching scary movies. I like watching comedies. But they want to watch it, so I'm like, okay, fine, let's watch it. And I'm watching this, and here's basically the premise of John Wick. His girlfriend dies. And some guy stole his car and killed his puppy. Now, I'll say this, and people will go, yeah, but it was the dog his girlfriend gave him. Fine. Okay. Stole his car, killed his puppy, which was the last memory of his girlfriend. So now he's going to find this guy. And, turn this off if you don't want a spoiler. But his goal now is to find the guy who killed my dog and stole my car. In the movie, how many people does he kill to get to this guy? Total 77. 77. That's just in the first one. The second one, he kills 128. The third one, he kills 94. They're in production for the fourth one. I guess they're saving up for bullets. But in 3 movies, this guy's killed 299 people. Here's where it's weird. When you watch John Wick, if you've ever seen John Wick, here's the bizarre part of John Wick. You find yourself rooting for John Wick. The guy's a sociopath. It was a puppy dog. Yes, we missed one, but go to Facebook, any neighborhood. People are looking. I found a dog. Can someone adopt it? Take care of it that way. 77 people. Now, again, do we look at this and we go, it's unrealistic violence? Sure. When a kid's playing Call of Duty, it's just shoot, shoot, shoot. Oh, I'm dead. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Oh, I'm dead. Yeah. But when you have those dopamine levels, they just reward. It's like trying to quit caffeine. It's like, you're used to these high dopamine levels. So your body's not used to producing its own natural levels of dopamine. And you're going to go through a withdrawal. And you're going to need aggressive acts to sort of make up for this. The strongest impact is towards kids already prone to violence. Again, if you're not a violent kid, John Wick is going to make you go beat somebody up. Okay, you're just going to go, wow, he really killed a lot of people. But if you're someone who's already prone to be a little bit violent, you're someone who's already more likely to punch your brother, you're probably going to punch him a little bit harder after watching this. All right. And again, it's difficult to find a relationship to mass shootings because mass shootings, there's a whole lot of factors going on there. So we can't really tie it to that. But again, you're in a lot of this, you're raising yourself. Do your parents really know what you're watching? No. Do they really know what kind of games you're playing? Of course not. Of course they don't. Okay, so an APA task force study on violent media in 2015 basically found that there was a consistent positive correlation between the amount of violent video game use with increases in aggressive behavior, aggressive thinking, and aggressive affect, decreases in pro-social behavior, empathy, sensitivity. And again, games do not make you violent or aggressive. Yet, if you are someone who's already violent and aggressive, it can add the spice and make you more so. Also, it can be linked to the type of game you're watching. Difficult games result in more aggression because they're hard to do. You got that friend, it's controller, and throws it against the wall. Was the violent justified or heroic? Those who played Call of Duty World War II, I've watched my sons play. It's really kind of amazing, the graphics and everything else. But those who played it as Americans were less aggressive after the game concluded because they looked at their acts as heroic, justified. Those who played it as Nazis, he's kind of a role play. I'm a Nazi, and now we get out there. I'm still a Nazi. Are you Jewish? And we get a little bit more. We kind of role play a little bit with that. Okay. Now, again, this doesn't affect all people the same. Kids in Japan, collectivist culture, their video games are more violent, but they're less aggressive afterwards because American kids are more likely to play alone. Japanese kids rarely have a TV in the bedroom. Japanese games have a more pro-social message. Asian kids, in Taiwan and Japan and the Philippines and Singapore tend to play these games in internet cafes with other people. And there's a difference in doing that as opposed to alone in your room and maybe talking to someone. And by the way, if you've ever had the opportunity to listen to the way that these people sitting in their room by themselves talk to one another, de-individuation, I can say whatever I want. No, there's no repercussions for it. I've heard some 7-year-olds say some really aggressive things playing these games with other people. So again, let's take this to another level. Sexual assault, frustration leading to aggression. In surveys of incidents of sexual assault, very often it is linked to frustration of the rapist in their lives leading to the aggressive crime. Rape has almost nothing to do with sex. Let me repeat that. Rape has almost nothing to do with sex or even sexual gratification. Rape is about dominance. Rape is about insecurity. You know, when you've got one guy rapes another guy in prison, very rarely is that guy homosexual. It's about dominating. It's about belittling. It's about humiliation. And it's the same thing when a guy rapes a girl. And by the way, in these instances we're going to use here, we're going to say that the guy is the aggressor and that the girl is the victim, because in most cases, that's what it is. Not in all cases. Guys can be the victim of rape from other guys. Guys can be the victim of rape from girls. That is possible. But in the vast majority, 95 plus, is the male being the aggressor and the female being the victim. Okay. You know, so again, you get two guys in prison. You know, when I got two little boy dogs and they're playing around, something one's humping the other. That's not about my dog's gay. That's about one dog trying to dominate another dog. And here's what becomes tricky when it comes to sexual assault. Unreported rapes greatly outnumber those that are reported. 80% of rapes, the girl knows who did it, knows his name, knows where he lives, usually knows the family, but she doesn't report it. Why not? Well, there's a lot of reasons why not. I don't want to believe it. I don't want to make it true by saying it. I don't want my parents to find out. I don't want other people to find out. It's suddenly doing something to your reputation. There's all these rationalizations that they have for not reporting it. But as a result of not reporting it, you're not getting the justice that you deserve. And this guy is not getting the punishment. And therefore, nothing bad happens to him for doing this aggressive act. What's to stop him from doing it again? 20% of women, 1 out of every 5 will report of their lives being forced into a sexual act. 50% of women report sexual coercion, which is, hey, you sent me that picture. You know what? If you don't want everybody to see that picture, you better do this. 85% report being sexually harassed. These numbers go up dramatically when alcohol becomes part of the equation, because it's the blockage of the frontal lobe. It's the blockage of rational thinking. It's the blockage of rational thinking, not just of the participants, but of the witnesses as well. You know, when you take a look at this, a study that was done here where they had people listen to an audio tape of a date rape that was occurring. Audio tape of a date rape that was occurring. These people did not consume alcohol. These people consumed alcohol. Those who did not consume alcohol said after about this much time, okay, that's gone too far. He really should stop. Those people who did consume alcohol, it took a little bit longer. And I know you go, well, it's only 40 seconds. A lot can happen in 40 seconds. And again, the number of forcible rapes has gone down overall up until about 2013, 2014, but we've seen an increase. So have we had an increase in sexual assault? It's debatable. What we may have had is an increase of women coming forward and saying, I was the victim. This Me Too movement of it's okay, I shouldn't be shamed. It's not a scarlet letter that goes with that, you know, where women are becoming frustrated. So therefore they're coming out with it. In a study, male college students, again, I just talked about that right there with that little paragraph. Okay, some other stuff there on that abuse. So again, when it comes to aggression and sexual assault, we have what is called the rape myth. Okay, a consistent finding about rapists is that they hold negative and demeaning attitudes towards women. 98% of reported rapists, again, are men. 90% of reported victims are women. So we're going to go with that. But the rape myth is all of the untruths that diminish the impact of rape, as well as the underestimating the number of occurrences that are frequently held by rapists. Every one of these statements here in purple is false. It's not true. but people believe them. Healthy women cannot be raped against their will. Of course they can. Rape is primarily a sex crime committed by sex-crazed maniacs, very rarely. Only bad girls get raped. No, no. If a girl engages in kissing and petting and lets things get out of hand, it's her own fault if her partner forces it. No. No means no means no means no means no. Rape only involves intercourse. Absolutely not. A husband cannot rape his own wife. Yes, he can. Number of rapes are not increasing, just the media's coverage of it for ratings. No. What's increasing is women actually calling it what it is. Women often falsely accuse men of rape. It's so rare that that happens. But again, we get this availability heuristic that we hear the couple of instances when it does happen, and we think that it's happening more and more. Most studies show that anywhere from 2 to 8% of rape accusations are later proven to be false. 1 out of 20 is really what that comes down to. 5% is about 1 out of 20. But in many studies, people think that 40 to 50% of accusations are false. And this is another reason why women don't report it. Who's going to believe me? Who's going to believe me? Do I want to live this again and again and again and again and again and deal with that PTSD? Again, the correct answers to each statement below is false, but these graphs show the percentage of people that think that these statements are in fact true. No, they're not. They're all false. And again, you can pause it, take a look at them and whatever, but it's that rape myth. It's that rape myth. And then Hollywood, more stuff there. Hollywood takes that and goes further. Date rape numbers have gone up along with the increase in rated R and X movies and more graphic TV that celebrates masculinity and casual sex. You know, when you see the rape myth in the media, she resists, he persists, she melts. You know, you want to go out with me? No, he keeps asking and asking and asking. And finally she says yes. Oh, look, and they lived happily ever after. That is sexual harassment. It's harassment. In one study, 84% of TV episodes contained an incident of sexual harassment. 85% of the sexual remarks were made by male characters. The more that pornography is made available, the more of a distorted of sexuality occurs. But it's not just that. It's modern day shows. Friends. There's an entire Friends episode about these guys discovered free porn and they had to do everything they could to keep the porn going. You know, and my wife was just watching. I say my wife, I was there too, but my wife who was, you know, having babies during Friends after the Friends reunion, whatever came on, she decided she wants to watch all the way through Friends. And, you know, it was 4 or 5 months ago. I think we're on season 2 now. I was watching one last night where Joey is trying to get a job as an actor, but in order to get the job, the woman says, you must sleep with me, you know? And again, you go, well, this is a great time to stand up. Now you can understand what women are going through and everything else. You know, you say no and you don't do that. But eventually he does sleep with the producer and he gets a better job. And it's funny. It's hilarious. They're exchanging money. I told you he would. That's sexually demeaning, you know? But again, it is a TV show. And most of us should be able to look at that, take that and go, oh, they're just being ironic, whatever. But when you're young, you know, when you're 11 watching this, 12 watching this, and you're going, oh, I guess that's how it works. There's a little bit of a problem. And again, the more that pornography is made available, there's a more distorted view of sexual reality, makes your partner less attractive, makes a woman's friendliness appear sexual in nature because that's all you see on there, celebrates promiscuity, celebrates aggressive behavior, makes men more likely to cheat because of distorted belief. You know, I go on my phone, there's like millions of porn videos. There's so many women that are doing. No, there's not. No, there's not. So you get this confused idea of guys of, oh, that's what women are. And then girls going, oh, this is what guys want. And it's boom, boom, boom. And it's in the air of Me Too. So again, this does not impact all men the same. It is a safe bet that if a man already is aggressive, provoked, or has a low opinion of women, that these movies may, in his mind, justify the aggressive behavior and make it worse. I'm not saying every guy who's ever looked at a boob on a screen is going down a rabbit hole of sin. I'm not saying that. But does it make it easier? is really sort of what we're looking at there. Some more stuff there if you want to take a look at it. All right, now to kind of cleanse ourselves of that, let's talk about people being altruistic. Altruistic is unselfish regard for the welfare of others. You just want to take care of others because it's just the right thing to do. This is based on the idea of empathy. We're going to help others just because helping others is good. You know, we're not looking for a reward. We're not looking for a reward. We just want to help people because helping people is good. I would want someone to do that for me, so I'll do it for them. Okay, many people have trouble accepting people being altruistic. You know, if you, if a guy offers to carry a lady's groceries to her car and she's like, oh, why is he doing this? What's in it for them? You know, so a lot of times we're hesitant to accept help from strangers, you know, especially women who feel more vulnerable about this. You know, what's behind it? Why are you helping me? What are you doing? Because we're on the defense all the time. Now, again, the evolutionary model of helping other people is we're more likely to help the us group, okay, feel that people that are like us, part of our genetic code, we want to make sure that that code goes forward, and jerseys are a great way to do this. You know, there's a study done of people at a soccer match, and by the way, you want violent soccer matches in England or anywhere in Europe. They had a guy in a Manchester shirt. Okay, the guy in a Manchester shirt outside of the stadium for a Manchester United game, and he was passed out drunk. This is what he was pretending to be passed out drunk. 80% of the time, he was helped by other people. But when the guy was wearing a Liverpool shirt, which is who they were playing, and it's a rival on top of that, only 20% of the people helped them. I'm sure a few of them probably peed on him. All right, you know, but you're not part of my group. I'm not going to help you out. You know, that's at us versus they again, and a jersey just shows it. And the most complex model that shows this to be true is, will I help somebody else? Well, what is the benefit to me? Or what is the benefit to the person I'm helping? Also multiply that by, are they related to me? Subtract that by the cost to me. If it's greater than zero, I'll do it. You know, do I give this person $10? Well, if the benefit to them is it's going to make their day a whole lot easier, you multiply that by the fact that they're my cousin. If I think that's great, that's worth more than the $10, I'm going to help them. I'm going to give them the $10. And this is the sort of math that's behind it. You don't need to memorize that formula, by the way. Now, last thing, the bystander effect. I'm at a pool. I'm at a neighborhood pool. Kid falls into the pool. Little baby falls into the pool, and I'm the only one at the pool. Will I jump in and help that kid? Of course I will. There's no one else there to help the kid. But if I'm at a pool, baby falls into the pool, there's 20 other people there, including 3 lifeguards. Do I jump in and help the kid? No. Someone else is going to help. You know, or why isn't anybody helping? Maybe it's a bad kid. Maybe they're testing to see if he's a witch or not. I don't know. But if nobody else is helping this kid, why do I help this kid? You know, that's where we are. You know, if I'm going down 290 and a guy's pulled over in a broken down car, do I pull over and I'm in busy traffic? Do I pull over and help them? No, because A, I don't know that much about cars, and B, there's other people qualified to help him. You know, and if I pull over and help him, other people can go, oh, he's taken care of, and they won't pull over. So no, I'm not going to help that guy. But if I'm suddenly on highway Interstate 10 going through Arizona, and the next town is not for 30 miles and there's no traffic, and I see a guy broken down on the side of the road, will I pull over and help that person? Absolutely. Because even though I'm going to give lame help, my help is better than no help. Okay. So the more other people there are, the less likely we are to help, especially if we don't think that our help is going to help. But it's more prominent when it's not a life or death situation. When it's a life or death situation, we're more likely to act. Okay. There was a study where a subject was put in a room and smoke started to enter into the room. Now, when a person is in a room by themselves and smoke starts to enter, 75% of the time, they're going to report the smoke. But when they're put in a room with 2 other people who are also part of the study, only 38% of them reported, because no one wanted to be the first to go, hey, do you smell smoke? They don't want to be the first one to freak out. But then when you're put in a room with 2 other people that were part of the study, and these 2 other people were specifically told, do not react, just play it cool, only 10% of those people reported the smoke, because it goes back to conformity. Nobody else is acting. Why should I act? Okay. So again, safety in numbers, community, as well. That wraps up that lecture. Thank you for working your way through that again. That is a frustrating one for me. We'll wrap up social psychology next lecture, love and relationships. We'll try to cleanse ourselves.